Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Covington City Council joint study session with our awesome Parks and Recreation Commission. In compliance with state law, City Council special and regular meetings are being held in a hybrid format with in-person, telephonic, and virtual options for public viewing and participation, this being the date of Tuesday, November 12th. With that, we'll call this meeting to order, and I'll just have everybody, one at a time. We'll go around the table and introduce ourselves. We'll start with Christine.
Christina Soltis, Covington City Council.
Jennifer Harger, Housing Council.
Robert Poole, Parks and Rec Commission.
Debbie Hartzog, City Council.
Mackenzie Woods, Parks and Rec Commission.
Jeff Wagner, your mayor.
Connie Elliott, Parks and Recreation Commission.
Elizabeth Porter, City Council.
Annie Sheely, Parks and Rec Commission.
Ethan Newton, Parks and Recreation Director.
Regan Bully, City Manager.
And I believe we have, is it Patricia online joining us?
Yes, I am.
Thank you for joining us, Patricia. You go by Patricia or Pat?
Patricia's good.
Okay. Thank you, Patricia. And I think we'll get started and we'll turn it. We have one item for discussion. I'm sure there's multiple items on here for 2025 Parks and Recreation priorities, and I'm going to turn this over to Connie.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and excuse me, welcome council and commission members. I appreciate the opportunity to meet with you today. I would invite you to make this a very interactive discussion where, so don't wait till the end with your questions. If, at any time during the discussion, if you have a question or a comment, please feel free to chime in. This is completely an open conversation with you. So I want to make it interactive and make sure that you ask your questions whenever they come up. So what I'd like to start off with, in your agenda there, you'll see the Parks and Recreation Priorities and Accomplishments document. That's the pretty one with the pictures. So starting off with some of the accomplishments that we want to highlight over the last year, our programs, recreation and cultural programs are very popular, and we have found out in very high demand as many of the programs surpassed last year's enrollment or attendance. And then new programs were at capacity when we offered them. So it's very exciting to see, especially a couple of new programs that we had, which was the Tiaras and Tea event that we had, which was full. Also the drive-in movies, I think I referenced at my last report to the council. Those were hugely popular. And then we expanded our volleyball program to include seniors or high school seniors, so going up to the 12th grade, giving the high school kids more opportunity to engage with our sports program. And we offered food trucks at the Kids Fest and the Summer Slam with the pickleball tournaments that we held at Covington Community Park. So those were some highlights of our accomplishments this year in our program. So, and then as you know, many of our recreation programs at the Aquatic Center continue to be at capacity as they are every year. We always think that there's a limit and then we overachieve the following year. So exciting to see those programs continue to do well. Does anybody have any questions about the programs, the community activities?
I just had a quick note. Like one of the focus we had was to activate spaces in the city that weren't necessarily being visited by residents. So getting out to the old school, the future building site and activating that for the drive-in was a great idea. And I got people out to see an area that's future space that we're gonna hopefully be able to utilize, but good work on that one. Well received by the city.
Thanks, I really appreciate that, Rob. And that brings up when we look at our capital projects that we accomplished this year, we opened up phase 1 of Founders Park and we completed the improvements there. And thank you, Mayor and council members, for attending the ribbon cutting ceremony that we had there, which is, again, as Rob pointed out, a great opportunity to get people over there and start to see the vision that we've created with that space. So it's a long time coming to see, the Covington Elementary site repurposed for city activities. So across the street with the phase one of the Founders Park was nice to, get people out there and present our vision. And then, the phase one improvements for Jenkins Creek Park, we continue to improve upon that property. That's I think Mayor Hardo called that the jewel of the city. And so, we're continuing to make improvements there and, have a long-term plan for change there. And phase one with the parking area and that entrance off of Wax Road, is well underway. So that is also good to see. And then when we look at some of our current priorities or things that we've been working on most recently, first thing that we talk about is the Jenkins Creek Trail, which, will run through the park, but starts down at Founders, I believe. That's where the plan that we're looking at is going to run all the way through Founders and north. And so the master plan is complete, and I believe that is on tonight's agenda for you to review. So you'll be seeing that. And then we have phase one is high priority for us, and we have already submitted grants. And so we're waiting to hear back about grant funding. So we can find out that, what kind of a timeline we're looking at for phase one. And so that will be from the stretch of the trail that goes from Jenkins Creek Park down to 272nd or 516, depending on what you want to call it there, but along Home Depot behind Red Robin. So that stretch of the trail. So you'll see more about that tonight. And there's a example of that plan on your page. Does anybody have any questions about that? I know you are going to be talking about it tonight and have that presented to you. So you'll see more about that. Does anyone on the commission have any feedback? I thought it was exciting to see that plan. We made some recommendations that I think got incorporated into the plan for physical safety, like a fence barrier that sits on top of the concrete barrier, just for additional security. And then the way that the trail is going to flow. So super excited to see the drawings on that, and excited about that phase of the trail.
I'm excited for just more open space to start opening up to the public, because I go to Covington Park. I have a 6-year-old. It's always crowded. Even the other day I was taking him to swim lessons. It's 4:30, it's getting dark and it's raining, and there's like 30 kids at the park. So I think the more open space that we get open, the public, better.
Yeah, and trails was very high on the priority list in the survey that residents took up for parks and recreation and open spaces, but trails, and we're walking trails, things that they could also that was paved so that they could have accessibility, strollers, and ADA compliance. So that was also important to the residents. So it's nice to see that we're making progress on that. The not so sexy topic on our priority list, as always, is park maintenance. We've done a great job with our capital projects. And so, what always follows is the maintenance phase of our assets and, our parks and even our open space. So I know that that's top of mind for you as you are about to make budget decisions. And I know that you have graciously included, the full-time position for parks maintenance in your budget proposal. So really do appreciate that. And we'll talk a little bit more about that, shortly after this. But so thank you so much for considering that, and considering especially maintenance at our Founders Park and our Jenkins Creek Park. Jenkins Creek has come up so many times when we talk about level of service in there, keeping it open, keeping it clear so that, it's useful to all members of the community, and we don't surrender it again to maybe a bad element that takes vacancy or whatever in the park. So I've actually been on cleanup projects there myself, so I know how important that is. That we are able to maintain those levels of service, especially in that park. And then I know that I'm hoping that we have.
Maintenance.
I'm sorry?
I wanted to add to the maintenance. I sincerely appreciate this commission's feedback regarding maintenance. Really, you all have done a tremendous job of keeping that in front of us and keeping us apprised of the needs in our parks. I mean, we see them and we hear from our residents, but when I think of parks maintenance, I can really go back to, the last meeting that we had with you all, and also Laura's update. So really, thank yourselves for keeping that in front of the council. It's much appreciated.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
great, Jennifer. Thank you so much, because it is the least fun thing to talk about compared to all the really cool things that we've done in the city and that we're doing all the time. But I started on the commission years ago, 15, maybe, I don't know, a long time ago. And even then, we had so few assets, such a small inventory of things, but even then maintenance was an issue, and it's impossible to get funding for ongoing maintenance of your facilities. Everybody wants to give you money for building new things, but nobody really considers the fact that you're going to then have to maintain that park or that trail, at a level where residents will continue to use it. So that becomes now a liability on the general fund. So, we want to always make sure that, and it's wonderful, the collaboration that we have with our team and our public works division, all of the city employees that help with maintenance in our parks and in our spaces. So really,
And it's a direct reflection of what the public is getting from their city. It's a very tangible, easy thing for residents to see. And so when they see it not looking 100%, they feel their city is not 100%. So yeah. It's extremely important.
I think, we all feel good about that. And the last thing on the priority list, but definitely, I think a popular item is the idea of an off-leash dog park somewhere in the city. So we are doing a feasibility assessment right now. Staff is working on that. And that's really to identify areas in the city that have the potential for a facility like a dog park, taking into consideration the type of park that we're looking for. There are a lot of requirements that I had no idea until we started down this road. And that will be completed by the end of the year. And Rob, I know you are very passionate about this one.
I know, I'm like, where's Jeff?
Jeff's number one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The big
He's outside with his stuff.
That too.
Yeah, but he's probably walking his dogs right now. The big piece of it is that you looked at the COVID era and what happened, and I know my household included, we got a dog, right? And you look at the population boom of homeowners with dogs, it's either, I can't remember if it was equivalent or higher than the population with kids. So we talk about parks, it's where do we take our kids? Where do they go play? But homeowners have a lot of dogs. And then I think I've said this before, but if we don't have a designated space for dogs to go, literally to go, then they're doing that at the schools. I see them at Matson every day when I drive to work. I see them at Kentwood. They're out using the school grounds as bathrooms, as just a part of it. And they're just trying to get their dogs out to exercise. So if we're able to find a space where the city residents can kind of bring that into one area, it's a little easier to maintain. And then we won't run in the field and step on something. So that's part of it, but it's also really good for the residents as a communal place to come together. People come with their dogs, they get together, and you're able to be around a lot of like-minded people. So it's again, a way to activate the community to join each other. Hey, Joe, welcome back. Looking short.
And when we talk about dog parks, we talk often about, a place to take the dogs, but if you think about it, when we are talking about our community and being a healthy community, that's also a way for our residents to be getting out and getting exercise, getting, out of the house. Rob mentioned COVID, and a lot of people started working from home during COVID and still work from home. And so this provides them the opportunity to get out with their dog, take the dog for a walk, but also get the exercise that they need. So I think that it has multiple benefits, not only for the dogs themselves, but for the people of the community, and having a place to go. And like Rob said, having a community of people, and having those play dates that, the dog parents like to have. So I think that there's a lot of good reasons for that. It's just, we know that it's challenging. We know that it's not a top priority for the city, but it is a priority. We continue to look at that. And so we're looking forward to having that feasibility assessment completed and presenting something to you in the beginning of the year with, a recommendation of what kind of action or what kind of go forward plan that we might be able to put together. So looking forward to that.
Good.
Yeah, thank you. Connie, question, and on that feasibility assessment, is that going to be done in-house, or do you have a professional organization that's going to do the assessment?
That's a great question, Debbie. I know staff is working on it. Have they engaged an outside consultant?
You're getting the services of me put together a feasibility study. So whether that's professional or not, I don't know.
Professional.
Okay.
But I think it's the first look at something like this, I think it'll provide some good basic information for the commission and council to consider. And then depending on direction from there, we can certainly dive deeper into it.
Okay, thank you.
I want to go off something that Rob brought up, that, you mentioned that there's more dog parents than kids.
Yeah.
That's actually true, because listening to the state superintendent, school districts across the state are having to gear up for decreasing population of kids. But he didn't say this, but there is an increase of dogs. So that's a
Choose
very,
balance for children. Cheaper.
You brought up a statistic at one of our.
Oh, I did, and I can pull it up and provide it next
I
time.
think it was 43% of
Yeah, somewhere in
households
there, yeah.
had a dog, one or more. I have four, but one or more
All
dogs.
over the place now.
I have a COVID dog. She's crazy.
I see the pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think, there are a lot of benefits for the community to be able to have a dog park. And many of our residents travel outside of the city to go to dog parks and other places. And so it'd be nice to have something in this area for residents to be able to, hop on a trail and walk to a dog park, in a connected city. That would be great.
Beth?
Um,
Can I follow up with, are you at liberty to give us little teaser tidbits of what you're finding? Or some of the considerations, like you said, if you were
Yeah.
surprised about some considerations?
sizes, like you had talked about different sizes of parks and the requirements for those different levels.
Going back to, I brought this item kind of in progress to the commission, I don't know, a few months ago. And it basically started looking at different types of off-leash dog areas. So you can have small dog parks, you can have large dog parks. They can be part of existing parks or standalone parks. And then just started putting together best practices that are typically accepted for dog parks. And that's about as far as it's kind of put together at this point. But we'll probably be looking at how much land or what size land you might be looking at, even what availability there might be in it, in the city or near the city.
Yeah, there's a lot of considerations that we've learned about in terms of size and capacity, and then parking, or will people have to walk is there parking nearby and they walk to the park? So it was, for me, it was surprising because, I just see a dog park and I don't really think about, all those things. But yeah, it was very interesting. So I think it is it's a challenge for Covington. I don't think I'm the only one that thinks that when we talk about the land and the availability of land and in the right place. So I think, that's the challenge that Ethan has in looking at all of those things to determine, is it feasible for us to have one in the city? So hopefully that it would be. Is there any other feedback on our current priorities?
I just wanted to piggyback off of something you said, Con, talking about how so many people still work from home. And that's one of the reasons I'm really excited about the Jenkins Creek Trail, just to have somewhere to walk, excuse me, that's safe, it's accessible, close to the neighborhoods, close around the city. I think that's going to be really exciting.
Thank you, Mackenzie. So when we talk about looking ahead, the first topic on the list is something that I'm excited about. I heard, you at one of the last meetings the last meeting I attended, it was a topic that came up when we talk about our whole health community center concept and the idea of a partnership with Valley Medical Center. We've been talking about the pool. I call it the pool, but the aquatic center for forever. I mean, ever since I first started on the commission, the first time that I was here, that was a major concern at that time. So when we talk about, expanding that, building a new facility that's not only an aquatic center, but a recreation center, where we combine that with the concept of a whole health community center and really talking about aligning our priorities with preventative health. So incorporating recreation and preventative health in the same center or facility. I think when we talk about being, if we look at your strategic priorities, and strategic priority number 3 addresses health and safety. So when we talk about a healthy community, this is really the epitome of what that could mean. And, this hasn't been done in the state of Washington, but it has been done in other parts of the country. And I think that Covington could be a trailblazer in implementing something like this in the state of Washington. So I think that there's the potential to really provide direction and leadership for other cities and communities in the state to really embrace this concept. And I know that you have, I think there's time on tonight's agenda to talk, or you just talked about it today. You had a meeting today about this.
Yes.
So I think that, this provides a unique opportunity for the city of Covington to really lead the way in creating a healthy community and really putting something behind that, not just saying, we want to be a healthy community and, we pay for a gym membership for our employees or, whatever that looks like. But this really puts all of your resources to bear in, having Covington lead the way for something like this. And, I think that's very exciting, not only to complete the project at some point, but to be the first ones to really lead the way on this. And then, for other cities to look at Covington as the example of, really living your values and showing that, what healthy community could really look like. So I would invite any conversation around this or questions about this that anybody has, because I know I can't be the only one that feels this way. Christina?
I know we were excited last time we heard about it. Without jumping the gun, has anything moved forward? I know we were potentially partnering with Valley. I know.
Yeah, so the last step was the council agreeing to move forward with it. So Valley's board has already done that. So today we had our first kind of steering committee meeting with them. So next steps that came out of that, we're gathering some information. We're going to connect with an architect that's actually designed all of these that are every one of them that exists in the United States. This firm has designed them. So we're going to reach out to them. Valley's real estate attorney will be looking into some real estate investment. It's like private equity funding. And we developed a lot of different options today. We talked through several different options of financing the facility. And so we'll be meeting again, I think the second week in December to report back on that stuff.
That's really exciting. I agree. This hasn't been done yet, and spearheading it in Covington, the greatest.
I think that would be fabulous.
Yeah. I agree.
I think we're all
And
excited.
just put a dog park in there somewhere on the roof.
That's on the road.
On the roof.
It's already complicated enough.
I mean, if we can't move out, we can move up, right? So.
It's a giant hydrant.
A rooftop dog park.
Why not?
Yeah.
What-
Just some railings.
I thought it was kind of interesting, just that how we got here earlier on, and one of the concepts was the swimming pool with a water slide, and all that was the fun, cool stuff, but remember there was an occupational therapy pool that was in one of the plans as well, and now we're talking to the community center concept with it, but really it's just another bridging step to that, but to give credit to the team of what they've done, like being on the commission has really opened my eyes to how impactful we are to the entire region. So talking about being first to something's really great, but we're already really impactful with what the lifeguarding team is doing with certifications of statewide trainers. Like my jaw dropped when I heard how many people flew into the area to train to then go back home and train their lifeguards. That's big, and the ability to lead on that. So if there's, I've always said, can King County support in some way, shape, or form too, right? It's we're keeping all of their pools safe by training through the training center and through the team. So just exciting to see where we're getting on it. But that occupational therapy side would be really big for us too.
Yeah, and I think what I learned from Ethan was, talking about, the idea would be that, you go to the doctor, they might prescribe some sort of therapy, maybe it's aquatic therapy, and so you have a pool there, and it just combining all of those health related options in a single, closed in environment presents a unique opportunity for Covington residents, and like Rob said, even the nearby community and the nearby residents. So I love doing something for the first time, being the first one, because you don't really have to worry about mistakes because you're the first one and you're going to make mistakes, and that's okay.
Regan, you do.
I would.
Well, you kind of learn along the way, and so you get a lot of grace. And
You don't
so I
have
think
to
it'll
I'll
be,
take the grace, that works.
yeah, it'll be easy to be first because, you have no pattern to follow. You're creating the pattern. So I think that's very exciting for Covington and an honor for us to be able to do that. And then we also have something that we've started and it's going to, go further out. And that's the Wingfield Open Space Master Plan. That is a project for us where we're trying to preserve some natural space that lies between a couple of communities, and historically it has some challenges. It's an area that floods quite often, and we have had residents attempt to change the flow of the stream that runs through there for methods we would not use. So this is an opportunity for us to make some corrections in that area. And really, it's been a very collaborative effort with the Public Works Department. So many kudos to Ben and his team for the help that they've given on that particular project. So as I said, master planning is underway. And we would love for you to support the next steps with phased improvements in that site. So have they seen the plan, or they're about to see it?
I don't know if that's come to council yet. It came to the commission as a phase to get input during the master planning. So
Okay.
I'm sure we'll share it with them once it's done.
So we've seen it, and we gave some feedback on how, which one of the plans that we thought would be ideal and be the least obtrusive, but also provides some structural changes so that future phases can be implemented with the least amount of disruption to the area. Does anybody on the commission want to offer any more input into that project from memory?
From what I can remember, we're going to preserve the integrity of the stream. There's gonna be a boardwalk so that the walking path will be moved slightly, and I think the goal was that maybe someday salmon might be able to come back to that area. Am I correct in that thinking?
Yeah, we'll restore some habitat.
And
in
also,
there.
including some indigenous plants and foods. I believe there was talk with the tribes about doing that, some of the prairies, and that was really exciting.
Yeah, there's a couple of sections that they have gotten input on and bringing for. I don't know if the agriculture is there or that it's going to be planted, but the Camas Prairie, and so there's some open space that they're gonna do some work on. So you'll see it on the plan. I wish I could speak more intelligently about that, but it was actually very exciting that they are taking into consideration all of those different elements. But we were most excited about, the stream retaining most of its natural flow, but diverting some of that so that we don't have the flooding that normally occurs in that area. And, keeping people a distance away from that by having the trail be a little uphill from the water. But then also taking into consideration some of the feedback that the residents provided. So there are neighborhoods on both sides of this space, and they had some concerns about traffic and parking, and if this increases exposure, more people will be coming into this area. But that's really not what we're doing. We're just really restoring this area and making it a more healthy area. Like Mackenzie mentioned, restoring some of the habitat for the salmon and providing healthy buffers and not concrete and tires to redirect the water flow. So really cleaning it up. And then there will be future phases of the project, and some of the work that they're going to do now will facilitate the future phases without coming back in and disrupting the park and having it look like construction area. We're going to do that in the beginning so that everything else will flow from there. So that's another attempt that we've made. It's always fun to talk about the playgrounds and the tennis courts and the soccer fields, but we're also working to preserve the natural spaces that we have in the city so that everything doesn't become a parking lot or something that's paved over. So really trying to make sure that we take natural spaces and preserve the integrity of the space. So
Well, and a piece of that was the funding behind it. Ethan, you'll probably have better details on it, but my ears perked up when they talked about how to pay for this and the work that would be done, because there's a lot of resources out in the community where nonprofit groups will come in, and this is an area where Covington could actually focus those funds because we don't have a lot of space that's eligible for it. So activating this would bring that funding.
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't they partner with Green River students, Green River Community College at some point?
Yeah,
Come in
so
and clean up the area.
it's a collaborative effort, and so we're working in partnership with Sound Fisheries Enhancement Group, who is kind of leading the master planning effort with the consulting group Herrera, also with the city and Public Works Department with Ben Parrish, who I think many of you know. The idea is to get the master plan done, which will then open up the doors for a lot of funding. And it's a whole different set of funding options than we would normally go after for more active recreation improvements and acquisitions and development. So, and we're in why Ryan 9 is aware of this project. And
Ryan 9, as a reminder, funded part of the project through Sound. So it's exciting from my standpoint because Covington doesn't have a lot of waterways, and I'm on the management committee, and actually get to see a project and get updates on it through that is exciting because it is a regional forum, and this is one of the few times that a Covington project is on our list. So.
And it'll open up doors for grant funding, but I think there's also a lot of volunteer groups, nonprofits, and Green River College being one of them that, their students come out and do a project, and that project will be a portion of the master plan. And enough of those things put together, and you'll see pretty significant improvements in that area.
yeah, and
Exciting.
it's nice what Ethan mentioned is that we will be able to apply for funding from different grant sources. So we're not competing having competing projects. So, you know, it's really nice that there are separate sources for something like an open space versus a park or trail. Because, you know, there's only so much funding available for those projects, and it would be horrible to be competing with ourselves to be able to get funding for this. So it would be nice to see, you know, us activate some other funding sources to get support for this. So appreciate that feedback. And then the really fun one that I saved for last for you, and it was just also the order that they appeared on the list, is the good old Metropolitan Park District. So, you know, we want to reiterate our support for an MPD as a long-term funding opportunity for many of our operations and maintenance and for capital projects, including the Whole Health Community Center. You know, back when we had I don't know, the pre-PAC isn't still a thing, right?
I was chair of pre-PAC.
Yes, I know. I remember those
It
meetings.
is not still a thing, I'll tell you.
No,
that.
I remember those meetings. That's how long that we've been working on this. So the pre-PAC supported the MPD as probably the most viable way for our community to have a funding source for projects like this. And I know in August, you had a study session addressing future funding for park maintenance specifically. And this is one way that we would be able to fund long-term maintenance or ongoing maintenance of our park properties is through the creation of an MPD. And I know, you know, there are so many competing priorities for our general fund. When we look at, you know, the funding that Parks is getting now, you know, our needs go up every year, but so do the needs of all of the other resources that are funded by the general fund. So when we look at, you know, maybe the police contract or some of the other things that are funded from that general fund, you know, it's hard to say that Parks should get an unequal share of that money, because, you know, I don't know that you could put a gun to someone's head. I mean, not literally, but and ask them, do they prefer, you know, parks or safety? You know, what's it going to be? And so, you know, that establishing an MPD would be a great way to relieve the city of funding those kinds, you know, our parks and recreation programs and capital projects out of the general fund. So, you know, we would like your continued support on that, and we support that as a commission. So just want to make sure and let you know that again. Does anybody have any discussion about MPD? I know that's such a big topic.
It's huge. It's a huge topic, yeah.
Yeah, I think most of everybody at this table and then some realize that won't happen without it. Like, there's just no way to
Yeah,
be able to do
It's so much money.
Yeah, and then the maintenance on top of
Even our
that,
general fund.
which will be the exciting part to hear, like, to what level does Valley and you know.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I wouldn't expect that we would be paying for their portion. But we're gonna take care of the creation center and how that, it'd be interesting just to see how the dynamics of that work out.
Yeah.
And what
It'll be time.
the bottom line need will be.
Yeah.
To put that to the.
I think as things unfold, it will be very interesting to see what, you know, and what funding mechanism makes sense. I mean, I think we think now that an MPD would make sense, but you know, maybe the other, you know, things will change, or maybe some other opportunity will emerge. But you know, I think that's kind of the front runner now by consensus, that, you know, that would provide an opportunity. And fortunately, unlike the Whole Health Community Center, there are examples of MPDs in the state. So we know what works and what doesn't work. So I think, you know, that's a good situation for us. Great. Does anyone have any feedback or any, you know, closing comments? I know we're a little bit ahead of time. I thought an hour might not even be enough, but Are there any other questions or comments that people want to make?
Thank you.
I think that, well, just again, back to activating space, right? I know at some point we're gonna have to go to the community and ask them to help fund a lot of this. And so the more and more engagement we get ahead of asking for that funding and getting them excited about the parks that we have, the programs that we have, the toddlers and tiaras, the team over there has done an incredible job bringing in different events and engaging different parts of the community so that when something potentially shows up on a ballot, they're gonna remember, oh yeah, I had tea with my daughter, or I went to the movie in the park, and if I don't support this, these events don't just happen. So what I would say is either keep encouraging the team to try crazy, fun new things and have them stick. Who would have thought toddlers and tiaras would do great, right? Or tea and tiaras. A lot of good, yeah, all those fun. Yeah, we'll try it. There's a crazy idea. We're on it. We're on it. Yeah. But the more people you bring to these programs, the more we activate different property. I was born right near Covington, lived in Covington for 20 years. I didn't even know there was a park behind me. Right. And so coming to the commission, I finally found out there's a park over there, and then we went and walked it. And now I'm like, this is incredibly inaccessible. So it's exciting to see a parking lot going in and the opportunity to now activate that space. But I guarantee half the people in the city probably don't know that park's there. So, you know, putting the monument up front, getting attention around the roundabout is going to be big for that. And a lot of our community will be able to see it more so and take some of the volume off of CCP on the other side and move people around the city will be really beneficial. So.
Great. Annie, or Mackenzie, do you guys have any?
I just want to thank the council for your continued support of Parks and Rec, and thank Ethan and his team for all the hard work they do throughout the year. My kids are still talking about the superhero event that you guys did this year.
It's another popular one.
Superheroes.
Patricia, do you have anything you'd like to say?
Well, I just know that the people who live around my area are really excited about parks and having easier access to them. So when I think about the parks, I think about not only the parks, but the trails and the safety on the trails that we will present to our communities. So the city becomes more active rather than sedentary.
That's a great point, Patricia. And I know trails placed very high on the community survey. So it's great to see that we're taking action on creating a trail that connects, you know, so much of our city to the accessing the park and the community center, Founders Park. So I think that's a great point that, you know, we want that connectivity that's safe and gets people out and about in the city.
Well, it's gorgeous. That's why we choose to live here, right? Yeah. Should totally go out and check it out.
Anybody else have anything they'd like to talk about Metropolitan Parks District? I remember you and Brian out there underneath the canopy at Cedar Heights Middle School.
Yeah, I wish I would have known how tough it would be to create a metropolitan park district.
All right, well, thank you all very much. And Rob, Patricia, Mackenzie, Annie, Connie, and everybody else in the Parks Commission, thank you so much. Especially like what Jennifer said about the maintenance. Because that was a big, heavy discussion with council about the level of service of maintenance for our parks and where we want to go with that. So thank you and appreciate all the hard work that each of you do. Keep us going. And yeah, I'm sure there will be a dog park sooner than later. I won't bring my crazy dog there, but yeah.
I'll bring my crazy dog and your crazy dog will close down for just there.
Yeah. All right. With that, thank you all very much and have a great evening. This meeting is adjourned and our council meeting will start at 7.